Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, a homeowner association despises my farm property and insists it ruins property values in the neighborhood. While I am on vacation, they completely demolish my farm and then claim they own my land. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. And the first one starts like this. I own a farm in an area that used to basically be run by us. Farmers as far as you could see, and the only issues were just internal ones between some of us fighting due to competition like plenty of people in the same business do. The pandemic really hurt the farming industry, and I was one of the few farmers able to stay afloat and keep my barn doors open. Rich people flocked to buy the land cheap and built themselves big mansions where farms used to be. Next to me went up a huge one, and ever since the person moved in, I had been having problems with that guy. He seemed offended that a farm was next to him, even though he knew this when he bought the damn house in the first place. It was not some random surprise, he even came up to me only a few days after moving in to complain. Neighbor, you need to do something about that horrible smell. Me, can you be a little bit more specific? Neighbor, those horrible animals. I want to open my windows in the morning and enjoy the world, but instead I'm met with the sounds and smells of those farm animals. Me? I mean, what do you want me to do about it? They are animals after all, and they are gonna smell and sound as such. Neighbor? Well, get rid of them of course. We have an HOA now, and there's no way this is allowed under it. Well, I'm not part of any HOA, but the neighbor does not care and continues to threaten me that he is on the new board and will make sure my animals get banned. From then, he complained about something every other day, and it was always something different. He did not like that I needed to water my crops because the sprinklers bothered him, he did not want me using farming equipment because it was too loud, etc. Always using the HOA, and that he was on the board as an excuse. I was not changing a damn thing, I was here first after all. One day when he was talking, I did get the real reason of why he was doing all of this. He started talking about how my farm looked ugly and it was gonna lower the property value of the area. It was all a power play to try and get me out and more mansions in. Not gonna happen because I can handle a lot of crap and hold my own in that kind of situation. About 2 months after he moved in, I left to go on my overdue honeymoon. We had to wait until the pandemic calmed down because we got married right before. I needed a break from work and my neighbor anyway, so it was fantastic to go on a trip and not even look at our phones the entire time until we got back. Outside of the honeymoon bubble, I had about 100 missed calls from the workers running my farm for me while I was away. Listening to them, I found out that the HOA, or more specifically my HOA neighbor, hired a company to demolish my farm, and nothing they could say was able to stop them from doing it. I was horrified, and when I saw the farm, I knew that they had gone too far. Everything was gone, from my house to barn structures to the crops growing. I am shocked that they did not salt the earth so nothing else could ever grow. Honestly, they seemed sadistic enough to do that. Well, I was not gonna stand by and let this happen, so I got a lawyer and wanted to go after my neighbor and make him pay. It turned out going after the HOA board was the way to go, but since he was on it, he would still end up paying for what he did. The only thing they had to justify what they did were documents stating that they had bought the land from me before I left and they owned it supposedly. Well, there were a few big issues in this story that they tried to play off as all just being a little too convenient. The first of which being, if they bought it, where the hell was the money? I clearly didn't have it. They claimed I must have spent it all on my honeymoon or opened a bank in a foreign country to hide it. However, there was no proof of them spending the money either. The other thing, and this one was kind of big, was the dates on their paperwork did not match right. I was already on a plane and out of the country when they claimed that I signed the deal. My lawyer was doing a great job, and despite me not being able to have a suit as expensive as the HOA guys, I sure as hell had a better lawyer. They were found guilty of destroying my land and faking the documents to get it destroyed, aka forgery. They were going to need to pay me a ton of money so I could rebuild my farm back up. From the forgery, a couple of the HOA board members were actually facing time in prison. It does not end there though, because I need to talk about the company they used to demolish my land. I don't want to say too much, but I will say that they are not the most savory group of people and for sure are in some other activity involved as well. Very shady and not the kind of people you want to owe money to if you want to keep all your limbs intact. As you can imagine, the last thing they wanted was a court case with one of their company's name getting attached to it. The HOA board members that didn't go to prison were scared crapless, and I did notice a few odd cars parked outside my neighbor's house for unusual amounts of time. Now my neighbor was not one of the few to go to prison and instead had to deal with the entire mess while also being watched by these weird guys. The HOA was broke from having to pay me because if you don't know farming, it's an expensive industry and rebuilding a farm meant I got a huge amount of money. The HOA actually had to shut down because the money just did not exist and the members were pissed how much they put in, and now it was all gone because the HOA board did something stupid. So they ended up shutting down as one way to try and mitigate the situation. Despite not living in that mansion long, my neighbor ended up moving away, and a part of me thinks it was related to that car parked outside his house. I don't even know if they fully paid off their demolition company, but owing guys like that money was extra dangerous. No matter the reason, I was glad that he was gone and I could start rebuilding my farm. It's still a work in progress, but I'm glad the HOA is gone and the guy who moved in after him does not have any issues living next to a farm and he has much more respect. And yeah, ripe stars, I'm so happy for OP that it sort of turned out well for him in the end and that this neighbor moved away. Honestly, if you have neighbors like this, you don't even need any enemies, because they are already living right near your doorstep. Either way, if you enjoyed the story, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Anyway, the next one is a petty revenge story. So we moved into a new cookie cutter neighborhood, and since then we have been bothered by pest control, carpet cleaners, lawn care, solar panel firms, etc. This was multiple times a day at first, but then we put up a no soliciting sign and for a while it worked pretty well. Fast forward to this week, salespeople have rang my doorbell daily despite my sign. I started by chewing them out and finding their business online to leave bad Yelp and Google reviews about the encounters. Then I researched city ordinances and apparently they need a permit, which most don't have, and they cannot ignore a no soliciting sign. It's $250 per violation. Awesome! Had my first victim yesterday who acknowledged that he read my sign but thought his info about solar panels was something I would want to hear, even though I specifically had a sign because I didn't want to be bothered. I'd shoot him out and when he left, called police non-emergency number. The police came after only 15 minutes and caught up with him down the street. I don't know if he was cited, but he just sat on the curb after the police left, probably because they told him to stop knocking on doors, period. Due to a lack of permit, of course. He had to wait there for at least an hour and a half for his ride. And the next one is a fantastic malicious compliance story. Some important backstory: I, 27 female, live in an apartment complex that has recently, as of June of 2023, been bought by a new management company. My best friends, Cole, 30 male, and Phoebe, 29 female, also live in the complex on the other side. Over the course of the new management's reign, they disabled the resident and rent payment portals we all were using and swapped us over to new portals. I don't know what exactly happened, but it took over a month to get the new portals working, which was a nightmare, but I digress. On 2nd August, I went to pay my rent through the new payment portal. As I always do, I checked the breakdown of what my utilities were. Usually this is water, trash, sewer, cam fees, and the tech package the complex includes, since we are charged based on usage. I have been in the apartment I'm in now since September of 2022, and prior to this I lived in the complex in 2 other units for a combined time of around 3 years. Needless to say, I'm very familiar with what my utilities should look like in this complex, specifically the water bill. Much to my surprise though, and confusion, my water bill was $91. Usually it's around $30 to $40. I understand increases happen, but usually I see them towards the beginning of the year, and it's never this much of an increase. Immediately, I emailed the front office to kindly ask what the hell is going on. The front office assistant manager told me that it was the water district that made the increase and that the complex had nothing to do with it and they were not able to do anything about it. It was a very "don't shoot the messenger" type response. This did not sit right with me, so I called my friends who live on the other side of the complex to see if they had seen a similar increase. After they checked their bill breakdown, they let me know that their water bill was double what it usually was at $120. They also reached out to the office and were told the same thing. Cole pressed further, asking if the front office was going to further investigate this since it seemed odd for a bullying increase to be happening in the middle of the year. Let alone this much of an increase, and the front office told him he could research it but that it was not their job, even though it literally is. So cue my malicious compliance. So you need to know this. Cole is a very thorough person, he is a data analyst. Asking and answering all the questions is what he does, and let me tell you, he's very good at it. Cole reached out to the water district and the water authority in our region multiple times via phone, email and live chat, and every single time he was given the same answer. We would never raise water rates in the middle of the year. It would never be by that much. Your complex is lying to you. Something is not right. They need to investigate this further. He took all this information and compiled an email to send to the front office management, and going as far as to cite the meeting minutes from the water authority in regards to their plan when it comes to water price increases over the course of the next few years. Cole also included some other concerns we have all had in regards to the complex, such as gym and pool access, as well as the constantly broken access gates. During my correspondence with the water district, I was informed by an employee by the name of Lisa that our rates increased in January this year. We don't raise them in the middle of the year. Given all the info above, I hope it becomes clear my concern as to the recent increase in our water rates. Cole created graphs and data sheets to completely back up his findings. This data was prepared using the ledger provided to me by the front office and can be replicated by your team for validation. Ultimately, my concern at this point is that I'm hearing conflicting info from the complex as opposed to the water district and its certified documents, which I've attached for the office's convenience. On 2 occasions I've almost been struck by vehicles entering the exit gate. I believe the reason behind that is that no deterrents are set up to stop people entering through the exit gate. Inspection of the area shows that spikes were originally installed, but those spikes don't appear to be in place at this moment. This contradicts signage within the property that says that there is. My spouse attached had come to the front office about access to the gym amenities. I am unaware of whom Phoebe had spoken to, but they had stated that they would need to set up the appropriate account to get us to access via a form of wireless locking mechanism. They had also mentioned that we should see this email in 1 to 2 days, and it's been roughly 3 weeks. He sent off his email, BCC'd me on it, and we waited and waited. Eventually, Cole went back into the front office for some kind of update, and one of the front office workers informed him that he might be able to call our utilities company, UB West, for further clarification of what's going on. So he did that, and UB West confirmed that as of mid-July, they no longer have a contract with our complex. The plot thickens. Cole reached back out to the front office and was told that our new utilities contract is with a company called Conservice. So we called them. Conservice told us that they only started their contract with our complex on the 1st of August 2023, and they had no backdated info about any of our billing. So we called UB West back to see if we could get our hands on backdated info. That's where things start to feel really fishy. UB West escalated our contact up to the financial manager of the contract our complex had with them, and she had some very interesting info. She told Cole and I that she noticed the increase in the water bill, and that she told the leasing office manager, she name-dropped the office manager, that something was wrong and that legally she needed to start an investigation, and she never heard back. Not long after this, their contract was termed. At this point, we were both feeling like real-life detectives. We looked into how the water bill is calculated and issued out to residents for the entire complex, and the more we looked into things, the less things made sense with what the front office was telling us. The conflicting info was jarring. At this point, the front office seemed to be getting very annoyed with our persistence, and they told us that if we should take our concerns up with corporate. So we did exactly that. Cole reached out to corporate and forwarded all of the info we had to them, along with the answers he had gotten from the last time he had gotten into the front office to try to get some answers. Sorry, I'm new and trying to figure this out. When asked about the water bill, we don't have access to this anymore. When asked about my financial reconciliation concerns, showing I have overpaid the property by around $2,000. We have a button that calls the police and our attorney on speed dial. When I asked about a reason as to why an update was not yet available, have you considered that your car being stolen was a test from God? When my car was actually stolen from within the property, we are working on security improvements, but corporate? Whenever I ask about the gate, people hoping the gate when a tenant was shot and killed on premises. Corporate reached back out to him within 24 hours and said that they would be investigating this, and the district manager called Cole personally after she was able to look into everything, and I mean everything. Unfortunately, I was not in that phone call, so I don't know exactly how it went. Cole called me the moment the call ended to update me on the situation. So the district manager started the conversation with a genuine apology, and she stated that the entirety of the leasing office staff had been terminated immediately. She apologized profusely about the manager having the audacity to suggest that Phoebe's car being stolen was a test from God, and that was simply unacceptable. She also assured Cole that an appointment was made to fix the gates and have the exit spikes reinstalled within the week, and that everything else would be personally investigated by her, including the water bills for all tenants in the complex. She also stated that she had no idea that someone had been shot or that Phoebe's car was stolen, both of which should have been reported to corporate immediately and were not by the leasing office manager. Starting in a few weeks, we should be getting a whole new front office staff sent in directly from corporate. And yeah guys, this story proves that sometimes when you contact corporate, that's not only a Karen douchebag move, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary. Props to OP for doing all of this. I would have lost my mind already a few days in. What a kerfuffle. Anyway, the next one is an Am I the A-hole story. For context, I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant. My husband, 29 male, and I, 30 female, met in college and have been together for 8 years, married for 2. Our relationship has always been solid and progressive. My husband has never been much of a traditionalist despite growing up in a very stereotypical family. He had 2 siblings and a stay-at-home mom, and his dad worked. Up until recently, we've agreed on nearly everything, save for small things in our marriage and how to raise kids. However, 2 days ago, we were talking about baby stuff, and my husband started mentioning that he thought maybe one of us should stay home with the baby for a while and not go back to work after our maternity and paternity leave is over. We both work in tech and make good money and have great benefits. I get 20 weeks of leave after the baby is born, he gets 12. We were trying to decide if we should stagger our leave so someone could be home with the baby until 6 months, which is the age where most places near us will start daycare. My husband said that he read that it's better for the baby to have a parent home for the first year. So I asked him, thinking nothing of it, if that's really something he would consider, since he might have to quit his job. He asked why he would have to quit, since I should obviously be the one to stay home with the baby. I asked him if he was serious, and he said yes, the mom should be the one to stay home. I said, how are we gonna make that work on just his income? For context, I make about 3 times what my husband does, it's never been an issue and never mattered to me. I just finished my masters earlier than he did, we both have them, and went into a more specialized field. We both make good money, but it's my job primarily that pays for the lifestyle we have. So I asked him what we were gonna do for a year on 1/4 the income with a new baby. He got a little upset and said I shouldn't even bring that up and that he makes good enough money to provide for us and I should not question him. I got mad and said it was not realistic and it was silly for the person who made more money to quit their job, especially since he is the one who thinks someone should be with the baby extra time. By the way, I was fine with sending the baby to daycare starting at 6 months. The fight blew up from there, me saying he's being sexist and not considering my feelings at all. I refused to back down and he ended up taking off after I said he should be the stay-at-home parent if he wants one so bad. And him saying that he didn't deserve to be emasculated just for suggesting I should stay home like a good mom. I talked to some of my family and his family about it and the answers are kind of split. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for bringing up the pay disparity and telling him that unless he's the one to stay home, the baby is going to daycare? And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this in the comments. To be honest, to me personally, the husband seems kind of insecure, and I like how OP, aka the wife, is taking this from a very rational position. Honestly, if you're making 3 times as much as your significant other, then your significant other should probably be the one staying at home. I mean, it's 2023, there are plenty of stay-at-home dads, it's not really such a special thing anymore. Either way, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Comment number 1 on Reddit said, not the a-hole at all. He is being sexist, thinking that since you're a woman, your place is in the home. He's also sexist because he thinks the suggestion that he stays home is emasculating. If he is so progressive that word would not have been uttered, he needs to wake up and smell the coffee. Stand your ground, he cannot make you quit your job. So sign up for those waitlists and good luck. Would he go to counseling? If not, go yourself. I'm concerned this is just the tip of the iceberg of his real feelings and you need to be prepared. Comment number 2, not the a-hole, your logic is spot on, he is taking the archaic, sexist, illogical, ego-driven path. Try living as if he's the only one working partner for a few months. Live off only his income to show him what type of life that would afford you. It'll be a wake-up call for him and you will have some additional savings at the end. I'm a little worried that this is the first instance of a mask dropping and that you will encounter more such sexist or controlling BS in the future. And yeah, ripe stars, so far I would say I absolutely agree with the comments, and thankfully we have an update from OP that I will read now. So update, I was reading through a ton of comments last night and got really nervous, wondering if maybe I was wrong about my husband being progressive. A lot of people were asking why we didn't talk about all this before we got pregnant, and the thing is, we did. We had agreed on daycare. For the people suggesting a nanny, I've begun looking into it, but they are really difficult to find sometimes. Because we both wanted to keep our jobs that we love. My husband has been acting weird and quiet since we fought, but this morning I finally sat him down and was basically like, what's going on? This doesn't seem like you. And by the way, ripe stars, I'm curious. I know that some people get a nanny for their kids, but I also know that in Western countries it's pretty much impossible to pay for. And funnily enough, here where I live in Thailand, 2 of the neighbor families, which are both foreigners, have a full-time nanny that basically lives in their house and takes care of the kid 24/7, and they pay right around maybe $400 to $450. Which obviously is absolutely crazy cheap. However, I would assume in a Western country it's pretty much impossible to afford a 24/7 nanny. Some of the comments here got me thinking about what his family might be pressuring him to do, and so I asked about that and a ton of stuff came out. He said he brought up the staggered leave to some people in his family at dinner a couple weeks ago, I was not there, and a few of them thought someone should stay home longer, and his brother laughed and made some jokes about my husband being a housewife and stay-at-home mom. His brother, 35 divorced, considers himself to be a man's man and has a lot of sexist views, so he has made jokes before about me being the breadwinner. So after hearing this, my husband snapped a bit because some of his co-workers and his older brother have laid into him a bit about the fact that I make more money and have a better job title, calling him a trophy husband and other dumb stuff like that, and it made my husband feel insecure, so he lashed out a bit at me, and that's why we fought. He has admitted that he felt really bad about it, which is why he has kind of been avoiding me. We have now agreed to be looking into a counselor and more into a nanny service, and he has admitted that he does not mind the idea of taking a few unpaid months to stay home, and he is just really worried about his brother and friends' jokes. Thank you to everyone for helping me feel more confident to confront this. We are doing much better. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.